Hello, I am Carlos Tourné. I am the director of the Pen Centenary and the editor of the Pen Centenary book together with Jan Martens. See this picture. It was sent to us by Polish Pen. We see the delegates to the 8th Pen International Congress in Warsaw in 1930 who went for a day of rafting on the Dunajec River in the middle of the Congress. It's the beautiful image of delegates embarking together for a century of debates, struggles, missions, translations. We love this picture so much that we have put it as a double page at the beginning of the book. This book, Pen International, An Illustrated History. An Illustrated History, the book we have produced, has 320 full color pages and more than 500 pictures, letters, documents, posters, maps. Thanks to each Pen Center who has been sending material for the book's production and for the Pen collection of archives that we inaugurated in June. And thanks to every person and institution who has supported the book's production, starting with the late Mexican Pen president, Alin Davidov Mizrachi. And thanks to the Harry Ransom Center at the University of Austin, Texas, which preserves the archives of Pen International. In 2021, the center has digitalized more than 2,000 documents of the Pen archives and has put them online, with some excellent teaching guides, allowing anyone to use our memory to explain the commitment of writers in the development of human rights. Thanks to the Harry Ransom Center, who has allowed us to publish extraordinary materials in the book. In fact, the book is the product of two essential partnerships of Pen International. Pen has partnered with the Writers and Free Expression Project, which for 4 years has been researching the role of non-governmental international writers' organizations like Pen International in order to understand what kind of collective agency writers have in shaping or influencing the right to free expression. The project brings together scholars, writers, activists with particular expertise in 3 geopolitical areas: the United Kingdom, South Africa, and India, in order to investigate how international instances of censorship and the forms of resistance it has provoked have played out in different parts of the world. The 3 leading researchers of the project are Rachel Potter, Peter McDonald, and Letizia Zecchini, and they are authors of the Pen book. They have been researching the history of Pen International. Other members of their team who have contributed actively to the research are Catherine Cooper, a senior researcher who teamed with Rachel Potter on the research about English Pen, Kate Hickman, and Chinmay Sharma. On the Pen side, Jennifer Clement, our president, together with Ginevra Vale, our archives collection manager, and myself, we have been authors of the book. We had the support of Isabel Jacobs, who researched Pen history and made a significant contribution to the pages about Yiddish Pen. The team of authors had to face 2 challenges at the beginning. First challenge, how to show the reader the intertwining of the history of congresses, resolutions, campaigns, and missions on one side, and the faces of the organization, the individuals, the Pen cases that have shaped one after the other Pen International. This is why we have created a permanent dialogue between cases and the life of Pen in the pages of the book. See the contents of the book. Each black line is a Pen story. Each red line is a Pen case. Let's explore a couple of examples. The pages explaining the impressive growth of the Writers' Imprisonment Committee since it took a more strategic approach in 1990 and started to send observers to the UN Human Rights Commission, followed by the creation of the Day of the Imprisoned Writer and the ritual of the empty chair. In the book, those stories are intertwined with the cases of Ken Saro-Wiwa, Anna Politkovskaya, and Hrant Dink. Or in the chapter about translation and linguistic rights, the defense of Tibetan language by the Dalai Lama and Tibetan Pen, the campaigns by English Pen and Pen America against the closing of Egunkaria, the only newspaper in the Basque language, or the constant defense of the linguistic rights of the Kurds. Those stories are intertwined with the cases of Kunchok Sepel Gopitsang Marcello Tamendi, and Zera Dogan. The authors had a second major challenge. The question from the start was how to build a history of PEN International able to include the diversity of narratives of our organization in different cultural contexts and in the various fronts where freedom of expression is at stake. We wanted the book to present 100 years of history, but also to showcase the diversity of PEN today, the variety of fronts where we have developed our mission. How to make visible the process by which, after the Second World War, and especially in the past 25 years, the number of PEN centers has grown to reach today 150 centers? Our history is divided into two blocks in the book. The first block from the origins of PEN until 1948. The second block is representing from 1948 until the centenary year, and each block with a different approach to chronology. In the first block, we see the origins of PEN with the first dinner in London on 5th October 1921, the first London Congress in 1923, the growth of PEN in the 20s and 30s, showcasing French PEN, PEN Mexico, All India PEN, and PEN Japan, the 1927 Congress in Brussels with the foundations of the PEN Charter, the 1928 Congress in Oslo, or the Warsaw Congress in 1930. This part is illustrated with the map of PEN in 1930. From Lisbon to Tartu, and from Reykjavik to Bucharest in Europe, and then PEN centers in Tel Aviv and Shanghai, Cape Town and Johannesburg, and the 7 centers of the Americas, Santiago de Chile, Buenos Aires, Mexico, San Francisco, New York, Toronto, and Montreal. We then moved to the major debates of the 1930s. The book burning in Germany under the Nazis, and the 1933 Dubrovnik Congress and the expulsion of German PEN, the 1936 Congress in Buenos Aires, easy to illustrate with images of Maria Schrader's movie about Stefan Zweig, the 1940 appeal to the conscience of the world at the beginning of the Second World War, the impressive work of PEN's Refugee Fund in London and other forms of support to exiled writers, the 1946 and 1948 Congress in Stockholm and Copenhagen, redefining the PEN Charter, plus the partnership with UNESCO. This part ends with this moving map of PEN in 1945, which includes the map of London in 1943 with 8 PEN centers in exile: PEN Germany, Austria, Catalonia, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Norway, Poland, and Yiddish PEN. Then we come to the second block. It's titled A World Republic of Letters and is divided into 5 sections: Writers in Exile, Writers in Prison, Translational Linguistic Rights, Writers for Peace, and Women Writers. In each section, we go back in time to the origins of PEN and travel across decades to reach the present. So, the Writers in Exile chapter starts with the first PEN center in exile, German PEN Abroad, with offices in London's Oxford Street. This is the letter where Heinrich Mann, writing from his exile in Nice, accepts to be a member of the center. Later, when he accepted to become the president of the new German PEN in exile, he suggested names of other writers in exile who could join. The chapter explores, among others, Cuban PEN in exile or Vietnamese PEN in exile, and ends with the last PEN center in exile, PEN Eritrea, founded in 2014 and one of the PEN cases, Yirgalem Fisea Mebratu. The chapter about writers in prison starts with our first 4 cases in the 1930s: the Asian Jacques Roumain, the German Ludwig Renn, the Spanish Federico García Lorca, and the Austrian Arthur Kessler. Then we explore the creation of the Writers in Prison Committee in 1960, the evolution of the PEN case list, PEN missions to Turkey, Peru, or Mexico, the Salman Rushdie affair, the work at the United Nations Human Rights Council. We end this chapter with Swedish PEN's Tucholsky Prize to Gui Minhai and the Minister of Culture of Sweden defying the Chinese ambassador when delivering the award to Gui Minhai. The chapter about translation and linguistic rights starts at the 1928 Oslo Congress, when delegates decided that the organization of PEN centers and the right to vote at congresses would be based not on state boundaries, but on literary and cultural ground. We explore the impact of the Universal Declaration of Linguistic Rights that PEN proclaimed in 1996, together with more than 40 other international NGOs. We close the chapter with the creation of PEN Chiapas Multicultural after the 2019 meeting devoted to writing the future in indigenous languages and the persecution of the Uyghur culture in China with the cases of Ilham Tohti and Rahile Dawood. The chapter about Writers for Peace devotes several pages to the extraordinary role of the committee in supporting writers besieged in Sarajevo in the early 90s. It explores the creation of PEN Sierra Leone, the role of PEN Norway in the founding of Afghan PEN, and PEN Mali as an actor of the peace process. It highlights the importance of the 2017 PEN Congress in Lviv and other spaces of dialogue between Russian and Ukrainian writers, and the case of Oleg Sentsov. The chapter about women writers roots itself in the shortest resolution ever, approved in 1928 and proposed by our founder, Catherine Dawson Scott, that women shall be considered eligible of membership of PEN if writers. It explores the creation of the Women Writers Committee after the conflict at the 48th PEN International Congress in New York in 1986, the election of Jennifer Clement as the first woman president in 2015, and the drafting and promotion of PEN's Women Manifesto. We crossed the whole century of PEN to reach this map at the end of the book, PEN in 2021, 150 centers in the 5 continents, from the first one, English PEN, to the last ones, PEN Greece and PEN Chiapas. The book's final part includes PEN's key documents, from the PEN Charter to the last of our manifestos, the Manifesto for the Democracy of Imagination. So 2 blocks, from the origins of PEN till 1948, and then 5 chapters about the evolution of PEN concerning writers in exile, in prison, translational linguistic rights, writers for peace, and women writers. And as a hinge between the 2 blocks of the book, we have included a brief history of the PEN Charter. The reader can follow in detail the vote of the assemblies of delegates that defined PEN's identity and mission year by year, from the first draft of the Charter in 1926 to the last amendment at the Lviv Congress in 2017. I said in the beginning that a second partnership had been essential for this book. Since 2018, we have partnered with the Motovun Group of international publishers to produce the book. The international network of publishers, many of them of illustrated books, decided to support PEN's mission in our centenary year. Thanks to them, the book appears in 9 languages. We have been working hand in hand in the past couple of years with Jan Martens as editors of the book. Together with the designer Thierry Julien, they have created the most appropriate shape for the book. Typography, colors, shapes are guiding the reader through the book. A reader that immediately recognizes, for example, that pages with red background refer to PEN cases. PEN has produced with the Motovun Group 3 versions of the book in the 3 working languages of PEN, English, French, and Spanish. PEN centers and PEN members have been ordering copies of the book to the International Secretariat, and you can continue to do so today at the PEN website and the website of the Congress. The commitment of some PEN centers and specific donations we have received have supported specific versions of the book. There are 2 English versions with 1 particular chapter at the end about the history of PEN Tibet abroad and the history of Slovene PEN. Members of the Motovun Group have produced 2 commercial editions of the English version. Interlink will distribute the book in North America and Thames and Hudson in the United Kingdom. The Spanish version will be distributed in Latin America and Spain by Galaxia Gutenberg, and the French version by Actes Sud. There is a special edition of the French version of the book in Belgium with a final chapter about the history of Francophone Belgian PEN. Then, Elisabeth Sandman from the Motovun Group, as an imprint of Schurkamp, has produced a German version of the book in agreement with German PEN. The same has happened in Sweden, where the publisher Martin Kaunitz has translated the book into Swedish in collaboration with Swedish PEN. Basque PEN has partnered with publisher Chalaparta to translate the book into the Basque language. Catalan PEN has partnered with publisher Galaxia Gutenberg to create a Catalan version of the book. And we are working the possibility of a Japanese translation these days. The book opens with the picture of delegates rafting at the Dunajec River in 1930. It ends with the image of the largest ever mission of PEN to Silivri prison in January 2017, 1 hour drive from Istanbul, with 3 PEN international presidents, Jennifer Clement, Jonathan Soul and Per Wadsberg, 3 international secretaries, Eva Boniers and Ronald Blondon from the PEN Publisher Circle, and delegates from 13 PEN centers. More than 150 journalists were imprisoned in Silivri at the time, and they knew we were there asking for them to be liberated. Closing the book with this image is a simple way of saying that after a century, we continue to be on a mission, at the service of our imprisoned colleagues, committed to the unending struggle of freedom of expression. Thank you.